Before we took the break, we were going through the different aims and goals upon which this security committee operated. You had just dealt with the contemplation of getting arms and different groups which were considered and some groups were eliminated. Before you go on to speak about the regime change, I would just like to know, given all the possibilities that were eliminated by the Security Committee, what option was adopted?
Well, I think we will get to that eventually. I want to finish, I think we'll get there.
Right. Well, in that case, Mr. Wednesday, continue please with your list.
Okay. The next question that we have to deal with is the question of regime change. How to have a conception of what's really possible in the context of Guyana, given the geopolitical realities of the country. The United States and the British are always important players in what happened with Guyana. We have to confidence in that because we were of the left. WPA, the left party, Marxism, and so forth. So we have to try to make an assessment of what form of regime change is likely to find acceptability in the hemisphere. And bearing in mind the movement of the time of the war, the US had lost it with Iran, the last one with Libya. We felt that it must be developing an attitude and policy toward Guyana. So we had to situate a conception of regime change that took that into consideration. And we decided that the form of regime change that is really possible there after the open insurrection of the people, open rebellion of the people, the mobilization of the people, so everybody could see it, like what happened in Iran and what happened recently in the Middle East. The executive was very concerned that the WPA was not attempt regime change by the WPA. That we have to bring about this relation, a very open rebellion. And that is the form of regime change we adopted. It solved the important question of arms race. We had to concentrate on the military over to the side of the people of the WPA. So the winning over the military, because we felt once the military take the people's and the WPA side, then we don't have to deal with weapons last year. So the Americans were trying to accept it. So our judgment was local, no WPA and WPA assaulting the state, open popular rebellion, that everybody would witness and see how it unfold, and hopefully regime change comes out of that. We felt we stand the best chance of accepting it. And that was the guiding principle and doctrine of the Security Committee. It was embraced by the executive. All the tenets that I mentioned that we adopted in the Security Committee as the approval of the executive. The executive had the last say whether we would attempt to execute regime change. And we would say, I want to go back to the civil rebellion.
Go back to
The civil rebellion.
civil rebellion.
Civil rebellion put tremendous pressure on the WPA resource-wise. By October, we were heading a very dangerous political situation, both with the party
October what year? October what year?
79.
Yes.
It's going with a three-month period. And by mid-October, the WPA Executive and the Security Committee have to discuss and evaluate the situation in the country and the effects the civil rebellion have on our own resources, our own preparation. Because as I told you, we didn't start the civil rebellion. Once we got the pulse of the people, we tried to build upon it. And the rapidity of the rebellion was so great that it created a very dangerous situation for the party and the people. And we felt we had to make a tactical retreat to end the civil rebellion, but we did it without announcing that we're ending the civil rebellion. And any student of the period study will realize that by mid-October, Georgia began to achieve a certain normalcy. Because we retreated the civil rebellion, and we began to reduce in a way that the burning regime will not realize that we're retreating or we're doing an end to the rebellion. So for us, many people who were observing the process, felt that civil rebellion was concluded, but our sole political judgment. We knew the civil rebellion was not to bring down the government. It was not intended to bring down the government. It was intended to give legitimacy, first to put regime change on the political agenda. We used the civil rebellion to put regime change on the political agenda because after Gordon was holding the charge against WPA leaders for long-term imprisonment, we could just to counter that was to put the question of regime change on the agenda. And we used the civil rebellion to get people to endorse regime change, and they endorsed it in thousands. So also we used to give legitimacy to WPA pursuing regime change. But the civil rebellion was never intended to bring about regime change. Observers who watching the phenomenon recognized that it had the potential to achieve that. In our political judgment, we knew that we were not using the civil rebellion to bring about political change. The civil rebellion, to use a biblical example, the John the Baptist announced the coming of the Messiah. So the civil rebellion announced the coming of regime change. It was not itself to be regime change. And I think we want that to be very clear. So when we end the civil rebellion, we actually start a new phase.
Before you move to the new phase, when you say we decided on a civil rebellion, I'm the chairman and sorry council, where did this originate from? The idea of the civil rebellion in the first executive or the future?
The name civil rebellion was given to the phenomenon after the fact. Historians the period of trying to get describing what happened at the historical moment, and they call it civil rebellion.
Okay, but when you say this tactical decision was made to retreat, whom initiated this decision?
So there was a discussion between the political body executive examining the political situation in the country, the party preparedness.
So it was the executive of the party,
yes,
not the security.
Both, because we were also the executive.
Where
the decision to end the civil rebellion was an executive decision.
Was Walter Rodney a part of the meeting or the discussion
yes,
that concluded on this?
Yes.
Thank you.
But as I said, we ended. Make sure that we maintain our aggressive position and we start a new phase to prepare the country and the party for regime change. The second phase was now the preparation of the party and the country for regime change. And that process starts after October and go on to the death of World War I. We never reach a point where we reach a point to execute regime change. The period from October, the death of World was in economic review was October, yes, sometime. So the death of World was a period which we engaged in activities to build the party, build the alliances in the country, do diplomatic work and so forth for regime change. Regime change will be the third phase of the show. But we never actually got to regime change. But Rodney killed Rodney in the preemptive strike, and that's, the book, we never reached the third.
So there was an export stock application in the other of that phase of our system. Civil rebellion. That's the need capitalization given to export stock by insurance.
Yes, it's not corporation.
Preparation of the party and the country for regime change, but that classification, the party's classification of that phase.
Yes, that was the security committee.
Or was that given by the editorial list?
No. That was the security committee, the executive who were committed of the party, because the people who were mobilized the party for change.
And he was going very fast. He was telling us what were the constituents of the preparation for this regime change. Could we just itemize them again for me, please?
Yes, ma'am. Now, Mr. Gunte, could you itemize the constituents or the systematic way that this preparation of the country for regime change and preparing the party for regime change?
One, we had to develop the party structures. So as we noticed, the party became a party in 79, it doesn't matter a few months. And they all deal with the struggle. So we realized that party, we have to give attention to build the party in a way that it can execute regime change. We realized that we have to build alliances in the country for regime change. We have to talk to other people, other forces, we have to do diplomatic work.
Yes, Mr. Guzzi, please continue.
You're really talking in generalizations. What does that mean? Build up the party structure, what does that mean? In practical terms,
In practical terms, what it meant is that we had to develop the party capacity to both covert and covert actions. We had to strengthen the covert structures of the party to non-political structures. And we have to develop capacity of the party to execute operations that was clandestine and very important to regime change.
We don't know what the normal political structures were, you have to help us.
So there's
Party group,
out for political groups. Without we had a number of political groups all over the country. In Georgetown, we had at least 12 political groups. This was conventional party structures. But then we had to build up on the ground ourselves. And we did actually build up a number of groups.
So you regard the status different from a constituency or group?
Yes, it was.
Tell us about the difference between the status and the party.
First, the 7 specialized groups which would carry out operations with deniability, clandestine,
And that's very easy.
deniability because there are things within reason that we don't want to name the party. So our conception of what the role that we will set to say, that is our view. And we did at least what 25 subsidies.
So for these activities that we're going to be deniable or needed to be deniable or clandestine,
As I said before, most of those cells were developed based upon perception of tasks that we believe will be necessary in the future. For example, as I said earlier, we had developed groups that use spice laws, developed PNC, so that we could get information before time. We had cells
high on PNC, that's what you just said.
about Israel. We developed cells that were having the responsibility of walking out the city and developing retreats, areas. Yes, the study had cells studying the city, and their task was to map out the city, give them consultations, give them police and so forth, how we will get people to know, mobility to move people around the place. We had cells committed to providing safe havens, homes to the WPA, and WPA people in case of crackdowns.
Now we bring the current and get rules.
Yes.
In the event of complications.
Yeah, we had cells committed to finding homes for the people with the needs of high party members. We had cells specialized in our business. We had cells.
I think we did have some earlier evidence for that. Some of the cells were involved in ballot activity.
Okay, I can answer that very quickly. There is no accusation, even by the state up to this day, to implicate the WPA any violent act in that period. None whatsoever, except for none of the military pointers. And there's no newspaper clippings, there's no police record, nothing that, point that would be engaged in violent activity.
Well, I think that the evidence that speaks of the correction there, those that were involved with violent activity before any ejection from the sexual body.
No.
You're not aware of that?
No. I think I know where we're going. I think we'll get there. But I don't want such periods and so on. We'll get there. Just give it a minute.
So the period that the witness expects you not the rest of the time.
I mean, I think this is nitty-gritty of the commission was actually.
It was told earlier that he had been for 34 years to testify. So after 34 years of prison, I don't think we're going to be able to come forward in the same today.
You spoke about
Okay, the point is that I don't think we have much evidence of the kind of thing. The cells were never oriented engage in any physical attack on the security forces because our conception, we want the security forces to be allied to the revolution. They were very clear. We're not getting into attacking the police force or the police. And we were very clear that one of the second class we wanted was to attack party members and they pushed to wipe us out. So we were very clear. None of our to make that kind of mistake. They weren't advanced. So our cells were clear to develop areas of capacity that we believe will be useful in teaching outside violence.
in your attempt to gain the support of the army in particular, what sort of directives did you give to these cells in order to obtain that particular objective or to do that particular operation?
No, the cells of the question of the army, the relation between army work. Myself on water was responsible for covert activities in Johnson, party activities. Walter, given his position in his creation, find himself dealing with other military people. I'm not saying I'm a market man. I'm a market man. They want you to remain in the Chinese, it's not the racial reality of the country. So in terms of African military, whether Walter like it or not, he ends up having to interface with military people for anyone else. I don't think he wanted that way, but that way involved with the reality of the military people don't want to deal with what they call underlings in a year, facilitate people to junior to give sort of things. I think that's the culture. So a lot of the relationship with army was handled mainly by War I. Our cells played little or no role in that.
On average, one of these cells, how many members would a particular cell have at one time?
3, the maximum 5. But in most cases, operating on 3, maximum, not more than 5.
And how were these cells differentiated from each other?
Each other, that would differentiate in the sense that if you had to that responsibility. And they didn't know the existence of each other.
They did not know the existence of each other. How many of these cells doing covert activities did you personally control?
We had 25, we have developed 25 cells, as far as my recollection. And we had third party groups, the official party groups that all parties will have. The cell, we had about 25 cells in Georgetown. We probably had other part of the country, but I can speak about Georgetown, where I had responsibility to deal with the COI development.
So these 25 cells in Georgetown, you were the one that dealt with your formations
Helping the formation and the supervision.
and the supervision. Was Dr. Rodney involved in any way with these 25 cells that were formed in Georgetown?
Not directly, because he had great responsibilities to do kind of thing. So he had bigger responsibilities.
What sort of greater responsibilities
As I
did
said,
Mr. Rodney have?
As I said, he was probably the major liaison person with military types. people in big business who want to support the party, you know, so we will really dealing with the supervision and development of the party cells was me, vice supervision.
Now, was there communication? Yes, sir.
You did mention about the having the number one lays down the road with the army. Is it only the army or with the security forces?
The security forces generally, but again, the army, as far as I know, I think that's not the first time we create this, to try to cultivate or good
We have had evidence of more than one witness that we have infiltrated the police,
very possible, very possible.
taking the security forces generally.
Yeah, generally.
In terms of the actions of the security committee and the cells that were formed, was there any, according to your knowledge, motivation or operation which dealt with the obtaining of explosives by the WPA?
Not the far, I'm over.
I have a duty to ask this. I did ask if Dr. Rodney was part of the meetings or discussions that decided on this new path, the preparation for regime change. And he said yes. But did he vote against it or did he support it?
It was full support. We both, obviously the security and the executive was one, that were in the very dangerous situation, and that's why we did time.
And in relation to the decision which was taken in relation to the discussions, the acquisition of arms, and eventually the rejection of that for reasons that you had given, was he supportive of that decision?
Mr. Quincy, the members of the cells which were formed, were they all party members?
No, for party and non-party members. There was some overlapping with party and non-party members. Party members is party civilians.
I understand from what you testified to earlier that the security committee operated with the executive also and internally on a need-to-know basis. But did you personally have knowledge of what operations Dr. Rodney was involved in during that particular time?
Not detailed, not detailed knowledge. The board was responsible for rural mobilization and development of capacity and getting economic policy. We talk very much about that. What the electrical were more general and all kinds of responsibility to otherwise. But I can't testify to everything what he was doing, what I didn't need to do. I didn't want to do. But in our discussions on strategy and tactics, we share common perceptions and try to influence the processes.
Did Mr. Rodney ever indicate to you that he was involved in any operations to obtain communication devices?
Okay. Police in the process of the various raids on the phones, offices, I've seen a number of walkie-talkies. People from abroad used to say walkie-talkies, when they ask people, and they did acquire a number of walkie-talkies. And it came a point where we recognized that if we use the walkie-talkies, that we have the rest of our possession. We have no way of knowing whether the other side was listening to us. And we wanted to have a walkie-talkie design that would act, work on a frequency that is not any frequency the walkie-talkie that we assume is in the possession of the security force would be using. And we had an electronic section cell who was working on it. They were encountering problems. And I raised the matter with
Just one moment. Go ahead, Mr.
yes, I was saying that we had our electronic unit working on trying to design this walkie-talkie that could operate on different frequencies. They were having difficulties. And I remember discussing with we discussed this problem, and he did set up some concepts in contact with somebody who have electronic capabilities. We would ask them to help in that particular process. Never named the first time of acts, but I knew, and I had over the water, the remnants of my walkie-talkie. We had there we progressed, and I could put the hands on it if needed. So I knew what was work with someone to develop this capacity.
Would you be able to pinpoint the exact time frame that you would have handed over these walkie-talkies or remnants of walkie-talkies you had in your possession?
I'm not very good at this. It's getting older.
You said I don't. You said I don't.
No, I said, yes, I did say there were cases who wanted a walkie-talkie. And one of the walkie-talkie probably to show the person that this is what we had they know the discipline. So I remember clearly giving over one of the remnants, so we had said, knew that we could move on and get this process. It's like the circuitry. All we really wanted, or whoever was doing the circuitry, once we get the circuitry, we were my country. So the way the circuitry, they hosted it, and didn't hear nothing. We wanted the technology of the circuitry, and we did it on the top to get the course views and contact the design, the vehicles. And I remember on at least 3 occasions, over time, they asked for it, we only get the circuitry because the for rest before you can make it to get to work. And I remember once even he delivered yet to, and on the 3rd occasion, I sensed what looked at his bus before. So he was to my good, and this is last, I didn't hear him, we got to try to make him. I sensed the water, and the last time he spoke, I reached a point that he would have given up on whoever would be mistake for him.
Mr. Concern, wish to pin a timeline to this. Perhaps if we use for reference the date of Dr. Rodney's death, which is the 13th of June 1980. How long before that date did he first request you to hand over the remnants of the walkie-talkie that you had?
I want to get into the example. We were 4 months or so before his death. I don't want to commit on this. 4 months before original recollection.
And this was after the Civil Rebellion? After the Civil Rebellion?
I think that for after the ending of the Civil Rebellion.
After ending the Civil Rebellion. And in relation to the last occasion that you made a request asking you when we're going to get the circuitry, how long before the death of Walter Rodney did you have that particular promising?
We might have been a month or so before what?
A month or so before.
Before you go on, you say you sensed a sense of frustration, was it the word you used?
Yes, the last time my dad was spoke for this thing, and I think that's with the chapter in the community circuitry, kind of it was a long time, hopefully I could wait 3 months or so.
What was the strategy that made you sense the frustration? That's what I want, the evidence.
It's more the beginning of the mannerism. So you can, I get the sense that this is the last,
Here's the question they should ask.
worrying this one from this criminal probably other way another way. This is sense that the initial point here, yeah, this point the tolerance. That would judge me.
And between that last occasion up until the date of the death of Dr. Rodney, you didn't have any other conversations with him about walkie-talkie circuitry.
No.
You had indicated that there was a particular cell that was dealing with electronics before you asked Dr. Rodney to intervene. Do you at this time remember any of the names of the individuals who made up that particular cell?
No. I want to be honest. I really don't want to get into the quite of things for the cells. You know, the political climate, you know, politics things get into the one. I don't think it's fair for me to call it names. People they come here subsequently who will review themselves. I don't know. I really don't want to get into the problem.
I
I
understand.
just I own myself, you know, I offer it, but I don't really want to be thinking it.
But at this point in time, I'm not asking you to name them. I'm asking you if you can recall their names.
No.
My next inquiry, Mr. Chairman, from your council, what is the difference?
I think it's been just started the distinction of I just wanted to inquire how many cells there were in the field. Now, this is electronic cell. This electronic cell is one.
I use one, at least operating in Georgetown.
I'm not talking about the electronic cells. How many cells dealing with different areas together?
In Georgetown, we have just I mentioned. Yes, that is
Dealing with what? Not all dealing with electronic.
No.
What were the other activities that they had?
I think I mentioned to the Moculum, the cells is called the moculum.
Let's be that.
Our cells, we had cells who use the special propaganda to be directed to particular targets in society. We had cells specialized in clandestine post-trade, dangerous areas. All of them, as I said before, none was going into it. So, any attack. Because we were not interested in that kind of job, just the women said that facilitate regime change in areas where we believe people have to be very careful. I must admit, they didn't ask me, we did arm these armed police and arm them, and be very frank. Early in the civil rebellion, when the TNC began on this terror, the WPA leadership of PS, especially party youths, were all to rebel. Because they said, we get into the politics, we will not be out of the outside, we want to fight back. And what will happen, we want PS, the key to come as not to go out to play that because PS. The second, two things. I think the one is really not combining conflict ourselves in them, the people will not come. And two, we felt they also wanted us to get into a situation of personal violence. They had security. And what was the Congress how come that to follow the guys? So we had to fight on team instead of getting our own run. Then we work out that we have to get some weapons which work at the stage, psychological boosts some point, like things are happening, things are happening. I think you got some you got some protection, and if we reach a point where we at least were able to provide one automatic weapon that is 12 cell units. But the weapons we give the cell leaders, whole goal was to actually have 25 cells with at least one weapon. We never reached that goal. At least we had, as far as I can remember, we had at least 12 cell leaders who had weapon automatic pistols.
And how did the security committee come to gain possession of these 12 automatic pistols in order to give them to these 12 cell leaders? Were you personally involved in the acquisition of any of these? How were you first made aware of the existence of these 12 automatic pistols?
You have to do this. Well, the Rodney level, if you look at what they are placed in weapons, so we have to have structures. Even acquisition, I was how acquisitions occur. There were methods in which acquisition will be delivered, and I would arrange. It's a little quite quite because we have to be careful that we didn't even in practical way with the weapons. Some people get arrested anytime. So what's happening? You know, kind of complicated mechanism that things could be delivered, and things working. And once we deliver, I have to keep my eyes on it to make sure I know who have enough. Make sure there's some order, some discipline. But I never had interest in source. I was more interested in delivery.
Need to know.
Yeah.
So when these weapons did come within the possession of the WPA, there was a fear on your part that the authorities might come in at any time?
If you obviously in that situation where you're subject to searches against anything, so that is the atmosphere you have to work within that area.
You made mention to there being in existence of mechanism. Did the mechanism you refer to involve you personally handling the weapons and handing them over to the cell leader?
In most cases, no, because what you see, as I said, you also have to work on deniability. These are complicated. So if I'm told a weapons appeal, I will decide which cell leader I think to have possession of. I will instruct a method and ask him to appear at a certain place and collect. He can't say I give you anything. So this is very this and that is very delicate and serious matter.
Let's get out of the shadows. Seriously.
Now, before we leave the topic of the cells and the activities of the Security Committee, I wish to ask you, Mr. Gunsley, whether you were ever part of any plot to blow up the Georgetown prison?
No, you never.
Are you aware of Dr. Rodney having any plans of that nature?
No.
Any plans to
Blow up the Georgetown State prison. Now, any such plan, if it did exist, would have fallen within the knowledge of the Security Committee. Now, Mr. Gunsley, I wish to move on, Georgetown Prison. I wish to move on to paragraph 12 of your statement where you refer to a notorious recognition handbook. Could you first indicate what this recognition handbook is?
It was a book produced by some section of the government, gang safety section. And was given to police officers. It has detailed information about the activists and supporters, including the name of police in the crime, identification, the mortality, where they work, application, the car numbers, a detailed profile. And these books were given to various members of the security force for easy identification. I think they said of WPA personnel.
Members of the security forces, which security force?
The police and I guess other section is the force. I know the police had issue.
You personally saw a copy of this recognition?
I had one in my possession for quite a while. We had many copies, many copies.
Before you go on, how do you know that they were given to you?
And how did you get this information that they were given to the police?
Well, many WPA comrades, I personally never seen them. Many WPA comrades reported that they were arrested. Officers would tell them book and still the case. That's a good thing. And I never actually had the experience. Then you look up, so this is how you do the book, and then you took, efforts to get copies in the we did get copies.
And you would have obtained copies of this book after the security committee was formed.
Yeah.
Now, of course, if you were to see a copy of this book, you would be able to recognize it. My respectful application is to show to the witness at this time a copy of the recognition handbook for the working people's election.
Please proceed.
Right.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Witness. Sorry.
I believe copies were issued.
Yes, I did see it yesterday. I have a copy. Did the witness say that it was produced by the PA?
No, so the subject here is still, I don't know exactly who produced it.
A department of the state?
I can't really give you evidence that it's mirrors produced, but I only assume that some department of the state or government, produced it, and the people officially put these officers.
Did you feature in the recognition handbook? The party was so well known that they never checked to see whether you were there.
No, see, I work in Mark, and the police station is very close to the station. I think, that's not police officers. I think it's always trying. It fails to my advantage too. But I think they spend a lot of resources on this person with life. And then they try to fix it whenever it's actually because I also, as work out the ways that when the extra come in and we want to go to come and play it here. But sometimes, no, anything. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, ever come to your attention whether there was ever a similar publication in relation to any other opposition party?
That's fine.
Thank you.
Now, from your recollection, you said that they carry profiles of various members of the WPA.
Supporters.
Supporters.
Of course, who they believe. For one reason or another.
Do you now have a look at the document?
Yeah, it's a block of the original. The original was much smaller. This is a block of
Do you recognize that to be a copy of the recognition handbook? At this time, members of the Commission, my respectful application would have a copy of the recognition handbook to be tendered and marked as T02 as an exhibit. Mr. Chairman, the tag, is it approved by the Commission? T02?
And I understand that later on we may get a clearer
Yes.
version of the book,
Yes.
but that would be useful.
Yes.
What's page 26?
Did you see the mark here?
Most grateful.
Want a copy of the photograph of yourself?
No, I'm going to tell you where I am.
The phone.
2 or 3.
Are you 24?
No, what was it before?
Yes, I'm 24 now.
And 25.
Yeah, that was probably really young.
That is the photocopy of the picture. And when you look at page 25, those are your particulars,
Yes, okay.
including your descriptions, stocky build,
Yeah.
dark brown complexion,
This is dark brown.
Where is the
African shirt, dashiki, and sandals.
We were
And you taught karate at the time? I wish for you to turn to page 5 of that book. You see there the name Walter Anthony Rodney.
Yeah,
Date of birth, the 23rd of March, 1942.
yeah.
Weight, 146 pounds,
Yes,
approximately.
I don't get yes.
Height, 5 feet 9 inches.
Yeah,
Address, 186 South Rumble Gardens, Georgetown. Description, medium build, dark brown complexion, wears black horn rimmed spectacles,
yeah,
carries a beard, and a thick afro hairstyle.
yeah.
Former lecturer, University of Indiana.
But no, that part was wrong. The level employment, the university, and see what wrong.
You see a number listed there as his passport number.
Yeah,
You can't recall his passport.
no, no, I never see this passport.
You see recorded on the bottom of the page, Rodney with bodyguard Bonnie Thomas.
Yes, I know one. Yeah,
Now, I wish for you to turn to page 6. Page 6, the very next.
yes, that's one.
Now, which do you see in this photograph, this photocopy of the photograph? You see 3 individuals there.
Yeah.
Which of these 3 individuals do you recognize to be Walter Rodney?
No, what is nothing.
This is like,
This is no, this is Mobile. Mobile.
picture Walter Rodney.
No.
Like you in the website, probably here, but you probably like in the original.
Chair, please.
Could you just look through the book and just tell us if you see a picture of Walter Rodney inside of it?
Chair, based on my understanding how the book is structured, the picture would appear first, then behind that usually would be the description. So based on my perusal of it yesterday, there's no picture of Walter Rodney in this book. It probably has been removed in our copy. But the picture on at page 6 I understand to be Omwali, and then the picture again on the next page alongside the description of Omwali is also Omwali. So that we don't have any, like say, total 8 I believe is just a room 3.
Yeah,
And 9 is the description. We don't have a picture of Omwali, Walter Rodney in this book.
There's one guy who was charged with one day if I recall, that year was 1977. Something around here. I don't know if I
Yes, Mr. Chair.
this was to give police officers who are the high for easy recognition of the personnel.
Does it be understand generally or leadership or troublemakers?
Whoever they have listed here, like there's some WPA supporters and also non-WPA members also in the book. So it had WPA members, had some WPA supporters. You had some people who probably not even associated with the party. But most of it was WPA members. I have not.
You're not seeing a photograph of.
I think the original artist is the Justin Lowe. I don't know if I'm seeing her here, but I think she used to be the very recollection she would be in the original.
Would there be any person in that book not a member supporter of protection?
I don't know if this is a full book, but I did remember the word for, well, not sympathetic, pretty sure sympathetic answer. But I guess all of them were sympathetic. But they were not party people.
You recognize all of them there as party members?
Most of them, because some of the cases are not clear. Most of them, I think 95% of them are party members.
Mr. Chairman, the exhibit and certainly the it's all over the place. The don't match the pages that they're calling out. I don't understand this not to be how people.
But it's very people together, but it's clear.
Yes, because I've seen a picture here, and I'm looking to see the name of the person and see it was the black one. This copy was the black one.
We think we have them and then we're referring to.
Okay.
Before that though, the witness had referred to not to the picture of the look at page 29.
Yes. If you see a profile page number 29 for Mr. Austin Johnson. Now,
Before you go on, I noticed many of the descriptions have a passport number. Some do. You yourself said you didn't know Dr. Rodney's passport number. Does that suggest that whoever may have compiled this publication would have had some kind of access to official documents?
Yeah, I think so. There's an official, we're wrapping up with the official products. There's some section in the state, you know, official document.
before we move on from the topic of the recognition handbook, Mr. Quincy, in paragraph 12 of your statement, you noted in the last sentence that the journalist from the USA, when shown the recognition handbook at the press conference, described it as a hit list.
Yeah, no fear, I had a press conference, and the conference did produce the handbook, so it's a journalist. And that was the remark of the state journalist made it when he saw it and he got the hit list.
All right, when did this interview take place?
I can't.
Was it before the death of Walter Rodney or after?
I really can't answer.
Did you hold the view that this, did you understand the recognition handbook to be a hit list? Were you of that view?
I think it depends on, you know, my position was it could be used for whatever purpose they want to use it for.
You survived those, sir. You're with us still. You are with us still.
Mr. Quincy, in your statement in paragraph 14, you spoke of an incident where Walter Rodney was, through to your operations of your networks, able to leave the country to visit Zimbabwe for their independence ceremony. Do you recall exactly what time this took place?
In Zimbabwe, the independence celebration was called the 18th of April, 18th April. I can't remember the number, 18th. But the 18th of April, 1980. Around that time.
Mr. Quincy, what was the significance of having Dr. Rodney leave the country to attend the independence celebration of Zimbabwe?
Okay, let me try to capture blessing. Walter Rodney, because of the charge, we have the other in charge, because he went to complete the country, so he was brought to travel, to work on to travel. He was invited by the Zimbabwean government to attend the anniversary. My understanding is that Gordon also extended the same courses, and Gordon was prepared to go to Parliament. But Walter didn't ask for, you know, the Security Committee to approve his departure to go and attend the thing and get approved. And we had to carry the operations to get him off. And that operation was signed the rural elements. The report by that they were giving details of that because of quality details. But eventually he was successful in Suriname, and eventually he reached Africa. I don't think, I subsequently learned, because I reproduced much of what I put in my statement from a speech which I gave at the Hamilton University many years ago. But I subsequently learned of what was actually reached Zimbabwe at the time. We reached Africa, but we get into Zimbabwe at the time. But the significance of that is that it did create concern in the executive. Some members of the executive felt of what was create a risk that given the nature of Gordon, that Gordon was seen as an affront to him. Because in Africa, Gordon was considered easy for the African liberation movement, and it was felt that Gordon would want to be the only star there. And he wouldn't want to see Rodney appear and share the same platform. People felt that Gordon was putting himself to create risk. Gordon would very well retaliate in unpredictable ways. So there was some discussion in the executive on that.
In your statement in paragraph 14, and this is on page 5, you indicated that many observers inside and outside the land felt that it was this act of defiance by Rodney which embarrassed and humiliated Burnham, who saw himself as a major international political personality and a leading spokesperson for the non-aligned and CARICOM movements that ultimately made him decide to get rid of Rodney once and for all.
What I'm trying to communicate here, a number of persons who, had discussions, who gave opinion upon it, felt that Gordon must have learned that was the left country. Gordon must have learned that was in Africa. Gordon will see that an affront to him. And that probably might have been the thing that broke the capital back. Gordon was saying, they went too far. But I mean, that was just people's own subjective analysis of what they believe might have triggered. So that was always a consideration.
Just for the record, could you, I remember reading about it. In those days, just describe for us if you recall, the impetus of the non-aligned movement and carried on. Can you? The non-aligned movement, was there this grand occasion where
Okay, I think Gordon was a major player or started on the line movement. Gordon was very active for policy matters. He was very active, I think probably put that. He supported the African liberation and he did made a reputation for himself to garrison soldiers to fight along Cubans in Angola. So Gordon was known on the continent and guarantees to give yearly donations to the African liberation movement. So both in Africa and on the line movement, Gordon was a star. In Khartoum, of course, was also a star.
Mr. Quincy, do you recall the date that Dr. Walter Rodney died?
Yes.
And could you now at this time just tell us what, if anything, you recall about that date and how you learned of the incident?
One night in January, in 88, started Friday evening, I learned about the death the next morning, Saturday, while I was at my school in market. My understanding was that WPA leadership, having realized what happened, tried to mobilize all of us to immediately discuss this information. They tried to make me find at my home. Unfortunately, that night I didn't sleep home because it was a practice of us sleep at different places. You never sleep at home. You know, so you know, when you feel you need to be at school. So they couldn't find me. So I was in the market because I gave up a lot of what I'm self-employed. But Saturday is a busy market period. And I try to keep as many Saturdays. Because I normally work up to half day, and from half day to about full time to political activity. So Saturday, I was at my start. And a party support you in the PDP to say, I'm going to hear what happened. I said, well, then you relate this to it. So I quickly got up and started, and I went to surf the village. And I eventually found everything at this place, this party office. It was a lawyer office, some way George. It was party office. And then they related this to me. And then from then on, it was all the discussion of the information.
Did you ever know Gregory Smith?
No.
When did you first hear the name Gregory Smith?
When it was reported in Donald's statement, mentioned this person and previously to give him the video of the talk. That was the first time I became conscious of the person that I knew previously. But right away, once I gave walkie-talkie, it synchronizes me that that was probably the person who was working towards getting the talk circuitry design. And when I read this book many years ago, he did mention that he was doing walkie-talkies of WPA. But I didn't know Donald's statement. I don't think Donald was lying. So when Donald said that he thought walkie-talkie and put together, I was convinced. And when I read it, he confirmed, yes, he was doing walkie-talkie.
You say you put together and you convinced. You were convinced of what, Mr. Quincy?
I was convinced that the person who was told me that he was in contact with the designing the walkie-talkie circuitries in WPA was producing.
In your statement in paragraph 19, you said that I will now list what I believe provide compelling circumstantial evidence that the Burnham regime was responsible for Walter Rodney's assassination. Could you at this point in time seek to list for the Commission and the listening committee what you believe as...
You will only just keep at the top, keep at the record, but the next time you won't part.
That's not the problem. It is page 6, paragraph 19.
And you can do more than please entitled to refresh himself.
The first point I made, I think, and then as I said, this is circumstantial evidence. I've taken the position that in the course of the law, circumstantial evidence is an important tool in judicial process. and not only direct evidence, but circumstantial evidence. I listed a number of circumstances, I believe, is compelling evidence that the commission should address itself to try to unravel what took place. And the first one I mentioned was the fact that in Donald's statement, he said one of the instructions that Greg Smith gave to him was that Walter should come out of the car, walk past the prison fence, because he, Smith, wanted to see how the device, when activated, would respond in the presence of expansive mental.
You're not to reach with business.
We've got
You're not to reach with business.
Walter, his own judgment, but good he did that. Did not see the need for him to come out of the car and activate the device. So he carried it just with the device in his lap. And of course, the device broke, resulting in his death. And I'm saying that when you follow the plot, Representative wanted Walter to activate the device in the presence of the prison, and he will have the device close to his face. And when it exploded, his face will be in this figure, and we all recognize him. And I'm saying that you have to put that side by side to the fact that the very night that Walter was killed, he just dropped in front of his home, which claimed that he died trying to block the prison. And there was even one who said that there was two drugs, and then one drug that later who also said, unrecognized man. So I'm saying, even if you want to say, oh, Walter accidentally killed himself, if you want to argue that way, who drugged did he test? Saying that he died trying to blow himself up. I think the circumstantial evidence points that the plotters who orchestrated his death and were hoping that he would get killed outside the car in front of the prison, had they been just well prepared and then drop it, not just to realize that the plot didn't go the way they had designed. And I think that we should probe in that area.
Do you know where the heat that came from and when they
We don't know. One step was dropped very night was this death, except that it was his home.
I want to ask
only a question before?
Well, I know that. I think it was, as a doctor, I'm not making a judgment. I think it was being provocative for being an insulting one in his family. You know?
I think what you're trying to tell us is the rapidity with which it was produced
Yes.
was having died that very night. But what I want to ask you, did you see that media?
Yes, I did. I did. I used to have a lot of those things in my possession. It's too hard to buy it in my house and just buy them, keep them, pay them, a lot of things in class.
This is the notion that you have to walk in front of the prison or beside the prison in the presence of expanding metals. I never read that. Where did you get that from? Now you have to test it in the presence of walk.
I think it was
In the presence of expanding metals.
one of the instructions that we still gave to Donald, $5 tickets. I guess Donald would be able to that is where it came.
And before we continue, this is a public inquiry, the chairman has over and over reminded us. So, assuming those leaflets do exist and any member or external government or other persons would have copies, they could make them available.
One of the problems we had, other than parties here that we have the body, would not say it was a policy that he had government and government. But he was dealing with the case. And he died. I think they were able to retrieve those files. The party lost after that. But I think I'm hopeful that the organization justice will be assigned when they steer a profession to deal with the party history. And I'm hopeful that he will have this possession one such. Okay, the second point was question the role played by powers to the carrier. Now, when Donald named Webster, the Army officially had denied the existence of the suit. Powers the Army who was a resident in charge, she lived in the same yard as me. She came to the party and confirmed that there was a Gregory Smith, and he was her neighbor. And I'm saying that fact, okay, exposed the lie that we put out officially by the army that there was no Gregory Smith in existence, and that Donald was fictitious. Garfield Sanders subsequently published a photograph of Gregory Smith in full military uniform, the military school he attended, his military number, and I think those two things blow eventually the word of GM denied that Smith did exist. I was a member again. Number 3, we were told very, very poorly after what was the party received information that Smith, transported by the army by air, and I think this have been coupled with the couple of the aircraft, I didn't know whether to write over that. But the information was that army flew him to one where his father lived. And our information was that the person saw Smith leaving the aircraft in the company of army officers. So you got that information very important. I, many years ago, met a person who works in COI, and he independently of the said he didn't witness Smith, said Smith bike, and he traveled and didn't get to COI by bus. And they didn't witness when Smith came off the helicopter in the presence of his armed officers. So years after he, the second person confirmed, I tried to work with him for years to get him to get the environment. So the chap was very friendly. You see him on the team. I think he's not very good at it. He definitely going forward. But the point I'm trying to say, years after WP knowledge of working in one, confirmed, yes, it did happen. But yet people only knew that after the fact. When Carter Standard refused, they could put together the person who was seen, coming out with the fact of the scene. But when he was actually coming out, they would know who it was. Okay, the next point, I think this is very remind that Smith wife, or Smith wife, or like very good status, was an employee working in some government department. I can't remember the exact place. And when Smith was fingered, pressed, when they worked, they tried to tear now they couldn't find her. She just disappeared. Years after, when we were able to track her down, she was working in the Ghana consulate in Canada.
How many years after?
5 years.
So this is around 85. Okay.
This is point of one
You're talking about Smith, right?
Yeah.
But in those days, a lot of the stuff you talk about, you don't have any statement, so you have to.
There's an objection.
I can't know
Which government department?
his wife's name. I'm just pointing to the journalist tried to locate her.
If I may direct Mr. Williams to, I think it's number 4,
6, 9, 8, number 4.
in paragraph 19. You can continue, Mr.
That's fine, but that's what I'm saying, the name, I didn't say the name.
In addition to that, council and members may wish to refer to LJCIDGS1, which is there to be put in by the police on the certificated evidence, page 64, a statement by one Joan Mendon, age 30 years of age, who says she was a diplomat employed at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and testifies or states in her statement that she was a fiancée. So that is LJCIDGS1.
Yes, Mr. Williams. Is there any other piece of
I
circumstantial
think that the regime, which is a puzzle on, if the regime never started systems within the court or any international organization, they have to apprehend justice. I think this is normal police and state response. So the significance of the Ghana state never started, I know, you know, never asked the court, or any international organization to definitely apprehension still even after this positive identified. And it was only after Toyana brought a criminal charge against him that this matter was ever placed before the court. I think that regardless is significant circumstantial matters that should any person over this matter should give some hearing. The sixth point is that if Burnham and his regime had nothing to do with the assassination of Rodney, why did they not initiate action apprehensive in the sole way compelling his appearance in a court of law? So if he stood on the court telling his grand story, I think it would be in the interest of them to do that. The person invited him, to take those measures. And I want to say that since Rodney's assassination had particular implications of Burnham and his regime, Burnham and his regime were being accused both internally and externally. Burnham was being destroyed by his action. And I think that it was in the best interest of Burnham to go to all ends in the world to clear his name. The fact that Burnham never did that, I think we ask ourselves why. I think the logical reason is why Burnham knew his and his regime involvement, and he knew he couldn't walk on the because if you arrest Smith and force him to court along, Smith will be very well cracked and still begins. So Burnham has been a law, he had no interest in the world. And the last point of significance that I submit was that another PA, first support of named Mr. Roy Kanai, he did a lot of work over the years trying to track down this device. And then this device, the kill one. And then Smith published his book and produced a lot of circuitry. He took opportunity to really study those circuitry because he had a kind of background. And he was able to establish that the device, which we call a portaphone, was converted into a bomb. He did conduct me in the inquiry, was announced. Asked me to deliver to the inquiry on his behalf his research, which I did deliver to the inquiry. I think the inquiry should take advantage of his expertise, and I don't know. But I think that the fact that he seems to be able to prove that it was a portaphone converted into a bomb, a very good case. That's so much for the circumstantial evidence. If you want me to continue to close up, I know it was enough.
Yes.
I want to read exactly what I
You can close off by reading your last.
I end my testimony by stating that after nearly 34 years, I still remain convinced that Burnham and members of the Guyana security forces masterminded the assassination of Dr. Walter Rodney. And Mr. Gregory Smith was their agent of choice, who knowingly carried out his master's genius secret. Throughout the WPA led the vote against PNC dictatorship. It is important to note that WPA never killed any member of the security forces, that it never killed any leader of the PNC, that it never killed any supporter of the PNC, and that it never killed anyone opposed to the WPA and its principles. In fact, it never killed anyone. This is unique in the history of struggle against present regimes, and it should put to rest often erroneous arguments that WPA was a violent revolutionary organization.
I noticed when you read that statement, you left out, said that he was a supporter, but not was even a member. Did you modify the deliberately or you?
No. Even when they discussed it,
Look at the 6 lines from the bottom, that paragraph.
WPA never killed any member of the security forces.
Then you member or supporter of the PNC. When you read, you said supporter. You did not read member. I'm asking you.
Okay, if there is any
It's the fifth line.
member, yes, I could probably read about it.
No, you didn't get them apart.
No.
Before council continues, and you might be best, want to another place question. Could you, for the record, describe in your own words the man LFS Burnham.
Okay, I think Burnham was an outstanding guy. He was a great guy. He was a good orator, but he was also a politician. I think he was also a politician that, in my judgment, once he gets power, he was prepared not to lose power at all costs. My judgment of Burnham was that he was not a politician who accepted principles in my party. I could work for 5 years, it could be a change of leader, somebody else could run. I don't think Burnham subscribed to that because once he's the leader, once he gets power, he must hold on to the power until the end. That's my judgment. I also want to say that Burnham had a special characteristic, which only 2 politicians I know in this country demonstrate. A personal vindictiveness. Burnham was one, and Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson. The Paul was very vindictive.
They had one?
Very vindictive. And I can give you some examples that I mean. Myself and Janet worked for years in this struggle. Okay, but then before they came home, we were very active in a committee in defense of Haiti. You know, after they came home in 92, she had a discourse on democracy and Catholic standard headquarters. And I sit down there and hear Janet spoke of return to democracy, and she never mentioned the WPO once. Only the TPP fought for return to democracy. The very next day, I wrote a letter criticizing her. Okay, the very first time she was reaching at this committee. They're not really reaching me to go and she said, but I approached her, she told democracy. You know, never ever after that had any cordial exchange. I understood what she was doing. I'll give you an example check. I showed the difference. During the PCD negotiations, I'm going to be very clear. Jenny had told us that he had a meeting with some elements in the community who say that he shouldn't be presidential candidate, he should get somebody to run because the very first indirectly is that in the army, they want to be communism. And he said, okay, I told them, what was our word, he black. And the person responded by saying, he had to be red. Then he's communist. That's what he told us. Somebody told him. When the PCD broke up, Jenny was around the country saying that the WPA, the negotiators, telling this story, telling the objective culture. So I had to write a letter criticizing Jenny publicly. The next time Jenny reached, they were going to take out the laugh. You know, he recognized he did a hand job, but he understands politics. I mean, Jenny maintained a cordial relationship with Janet, not that thing. I think Burnham and Janet is 2 persons who felt it very, very personal, very detailed. I don't want to go to it outside Haiti because I will give you another example. I want to bring in his experience. But my judgment is that Burnham had a strong points. He was a nationalist. I think he had progressive tendency, but also had a streak. There's a force of power. So one side that power of this power. And if he fails the power, how much? And that's why we're so grateful. Thank you.
Is it your judgment or that would have applied violence or caused it to be applied to his opponent? Would have supported the application of violence to his opponent,
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I was hoping that the comment when I come to the Lord battle of the cross, but I've already given raised some issues about it. But I mean, Burnham played a role in 79 we were fighting him. He played a role in Grenada regime change outside elections in Grenada. And that's the Grenada comrades who overthrew Morris Bishop's claim against the defense forces. So the Burnham who can't come and tell me that he would play against regime change in Grenada, and we who have legitimate concerns about him kind of regime change in Grenada.
So he said he assisted regime change in Grenada?
I'm saying that he did assist the regime change in Guyana, and I'm saying that members of the Guyana Defense Force did train some of the comrades, Bishop comrades, who eventually overthrew the outside the equivalent army. So I'm saying that Burnham can tell me, or case can tell me, if you wreck the regime change, they gave the regime change.
But your answer is founded on an illustration in far away in Grenada. What about here in Guyana? affordable care in Guyana, and you gave me an answer related to Grenada of affordable care in Guyana.
Sorry, it was a question.
I asked you, you were just that Berlin Wars was reported the application of force ballot this political party, opponent, sorry, political opponent.
No, I think as I said before, Burnham is very clear. I am forward, okay? And anybody who tried to dislodge me, I was prepared to use force to make him a fool. And I don't know how to say it. Burnham Powell, who acquired 2 big elections, was being challenged by half of the country, Indian community of the devil, and the civil rebellion, when we get significant active guidance, people to express opposition, and the big elections in this country. He had no legitimacy. When he had power, he used power. But I'm clear that Burnham did anything that was prepared to do anything to me in that home.
Was there an election in 1980 or some voting?
In 1980, it was a referendum.
Did you participate in the
I was something else like that.
boycott?
Referendum.
Why did you boycott it since it's an electoral process?
Because the referendum
It's a democratic process then, it's voting.
it was designed to bring into being a constitution which would give Burnham even more power than he had. And it was being done after he gave a massive electoral fraud in the 1973 elections. And we would see more that.
Did the 1973 elections and what you refer to as massive fraud in any way influence the manner in which the WPA proceeded up to 1980, the time of Walter's death?
If we took all that into consideration, I think the WPA, even long before Walter came back, they recognized the dedication to bring about political change electorally. But as a party, we felt that we had some very important things to do to be able to reach this polarization. For the WPA spend out the time to work to bring up this polarization. I think long before that, we were very clear that we don't like to move forward.
You mentioned the paramountcy of the party and what was the direct response, if any, by the WPA to this particular order?
I think the WPA reject currency was not a constitutional arrangement in the federal constitution. We felt that Burnham was using this power to impose upon the political formula to make the party more important than the state, that the party now have importance decrease in the state. And we felt that that was totally unacceptable. And we were definitely opposed to that arrangement.
Well, let me ask you, the WPA considered itself Marxist,
Yes, we did officially use the care of the Marxists.
but it did not consider that paramountcy of the party was part of the Marxist
So we are not conventional Marxists who are very creative. Our leader, global Marxists, very clearly anti-Stalinist and so forth.
We're not Stalin.
We see Marxism as a tool for social experience social society and so forth and so forth. Because it's a useful tool. Many of us associate with Marxism today.
Do you have any reason to believe that this tight hold that you describe, then Prime Minister or President Burnham having on the country, the concept and principles of paramountcy of the party, do you have any reason to believe that it led Walter Rodney to extremist action, for example, securing a bomb and attempting to test it?
I don't accept the premise that Walter was security bomb or attempted to security bomb and was testing the bomb. Don't accept that premise. Don't accept it.
Do you think that the need to know basis on which you operated would have allowed you to do that without your knowing?
Theoretically, it's possible, but it doesn't make sense because I don't think we really split the big bomb expertise in the party. I don't think so. I think Smith will be split electronic capacity.
Thank you.
Following up on my point, you were very close to the water. Would you say you had violent tendencies?
No, as I told you, what member is made the strength of the young people who are prepared to deal with the problem they didn't. Also, definitely believe that violence should not be used, within. And that is why I'm saying, I don't have to defend it. I think the record will show, even the peers have never put the shooting of the police assumed. I don't even want to defend that. I think the historical record are here. What is WPA never see violence in that period. We find it unacceptable. We find it difficult to read a degeneration of the political culture. But once you use personal violence in politics, then you have no way to end. But we have to accept that regime change may have caused involved violence, but I don't know what is going to take regime change, whatever form you may perceive that they not have some violence outcome. Violence for the sake of violence, no.
So the penetration of the GDA, that defense force, by a water rod from the security committee squadron, what was its purpose? To get arms, to neutralize the army, to get trained the persons available to fight for you? What was its purpose?
No, I think what was to build up a kind of loyal section in the army, influential, upright, that will refuse orders to shoot. Our view is that once people, if ever we have reached that stage, the biggest thing will prevent the army to carry orders and not actually get what was working to make sure that we had some enough influence in the army that those orders will not be carried out. And so doing also is a great risk.
How successful is that infiltration of the army you was?
I really cannot give an objective assessment.
You mentioned a paragraph 19 in your statement. Rohit can hide. Did work on tracking down the device used in making the bomb. Established that the device was portable, converted into a bomb. Do you know anything about these portables? That is your statement on information received.
Yes. You asked me to do this research. This commission technique.
You never asked anything about it yourself? You never asked, can I anything about it?
No.
But you did say that, I think that he told you that a portfolio was only available after special clearance and normally only available to government and high security and after high security clearance.
Yes, I think you did mention.
You mentioned that after 6 years after Rodney's death, Smith's wife was located and identified as working in the High Commission's office in Canada. What inference do you draw from that 6 years after? That would be part of the strands of circumstantial evidence pointing to the government's involvement in Rodney's death.
That's how I see it. The relationship probe how soon after what the examination fingered, how she was quickly hustled to the country and her place of employment. And then she suddenly, she went to church, she started working in the Guyana consulate. I think that future probe, I don't know.
The husband of Smith and the departure of his wife immediately after, I think is of importance, and certain inferences may be drawn from that, depending on all the circumstances around it. But that she is seen working 6 years later in a government's office and commission in Canada, I could talk with you drawn from that.
I thought the motion would probe, see whether she was working here 2 weeks after she left the country, I don't know. But this time when we were able to, as I remember, we were able to find where she's working. She may be working there 1 after she left the country, so she's reported.
He said his wife and daughter were transported to Guam by bus. Was transported by bus.
I think this exchange was all
He said
provided a statement.
I didn't hear it about it. Ibaratkan kaedah ada yang orang tak dapat.
Apparently, the 30th to 6th of July, 1980, she was leaving for appointment in a position in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs abroad. Yes.
Of course, now, this is a Caribbean, so I don't know if it's the same white you're speaking about or another one. But I just thought I would add that. It can pass.
We don't have a middle grade, but we have Joan Nelson.
Just so that I thought was Daniel Jones.
Smith was a board.
It's quite concerned that the body is statement as the athlete of quite concerned.
What year was that, you said?
1980.
It's part of LJCI, yes.
Okay, this thing has a bit behind.
That's why I was careful to say this being the Caribbean, there may be more than one.
So Jamaica,
Mr. Hussein, yesterday Mr. Alan Robert Gates testified, and in his testimony on page 81, and it continues on 82 of the verbatim reports for the 24th of June 2014, Mr. Gates stated that, yes, during the same period, in answer to the fourth line after you see your name appears, yes, during the same period, Dr. Ryan had confided in me that he and Walter Rodney were spearheading an operation requiring arms, ammunition, and explosives, and radio sets very high frequency in order to overthrow the government of Guyana. Mr. Williams asked, yes, and you said that was a confession made to you by Dr. Ryan, Mr. Gates. I would not say that was a confession, Mr. Williams. You said he confided in you, Mr. Gates. We had a discussion. Mr. Williams, he intimated that to you, Mr. Gates. Yes, sir. Mr. Williams continues reading, and Mr. Gates answers, at one time, Dr. Ryan had discussed the logistics of the plan to overthrow, and we had discussed that it would be to first seize Camp Ayangano, take control of all ports of entry and exit into the country, and then overrun the office of the president, or the official residence as the case may be. Mr. Williams continues. Mr. Gates answers, to arrest President Eliphas Burnham simultaneously. The plan was also to seize control of radio stations. Mr. Akunsi, was this plan, as Mr. Gates said, Mr. Ryan communicated to him, a plan of the WPA executive and or the security committee of the WPA?
I have no knowledge of such a plan. Because the work of the months and the UK after the questioning. I already have a response to me. The WPA at point recognized that we were being penetrated. And we encouraged fights on both sides. We had what we call, we use the information, disinformation, where WPA uses the tell them a story, it doesn't care about the regime. So I know that was going on. That was part of our strategic security policy, was to accept the words of the reform and say, okay, we have to use them to our advantage and use them in disinformation. So I was not surprised if we were engaged in disinformation, but it's part of the tools that we use. And I think they also do the same with us.
Did you know Alan Robert Gates at that time?
No.
Was he ever brought to your attention as one of the people who was considered to be an agent that false information was being given to?
No. After he agreed to testify, many members of the committee reminded me he was one time in Port Vatican. I could remember, I don't know who was the water, but I never could remember Gates. But WPA was confirmed, I think it was Rodney with understand, that he was at some point reported by the guard. That's most I can say about that, sir.
Now, Mr. Agunse, you have stated both in your written statement that you read the book allegedly co-authored by Rodney Smith. You've had a look at the appendix pages that has some pictures of some alleged WPA operatives. Do you remember seeing that page? Could you please have a look at this and just indicate whether you recognize any of the pictures published there to be members of the WPA?
No,
Are they supporters?
not quite.
Thank you. If you knew any of them as WPA members instead of as WPA supporters,
Sure you look there?
do you know any of them?
You see, right,
No. No, we're not contempt.
right
I want to
here,
make
right here, study this, listen up.
Everybody, I knew, I know. I said, I forget that twice. I'm very dismissive of it. I don't want to.
I've seen those pictures.
No.
No, I mean in the book. Have you
No, no, I can't identify you.
No, but I think the Commissioner Samples was asking you whether you saw those pictures in the book before.
Yes. I read the book on 2 occasions.
Okay.
Forced to release. But I refuse to do it. No, I mean, you're located more specialism. Because those of you who see that the Bible is really big.
Before I conclude with you, Mr. Agunse, you did mention in your written statement that at one point in time you wanted to ask Dr. Rodney to go on the ground. And you felt that, and this is paragraph 16, I did not raise the issue, and to this day I feel that my failure to urge this course of action was a major political mistake on my part. Do you care to explain why you feel this way?
Yes, I remember that at least a week or two before was that you were receiving a lot of information, whether this information or what it can be. We got information that the government was planning a major crackdown on WPA leaders and the party. And we were discussing and trying to make sense of it. And I had a gut feeling at that meeting that we should be precautionary, that, and ask for this go at the ground for period. And that was a gut feeling. And I never actually introduced it to the discourse. And afterwards, I really felt guilty because if probably I had mentioned it in the fight bit, probably might have gone on. I don't know. But I live with that knowledge and feel a bit guilty that,
What sort of information you were receiving?
you are receiving information that the regime was planning a crackdown on the leadership and the party and the leadership. The party and the leadership.
Don't go too far away from the mic.
That the information you are receiving, and I'm saying I didn't know, we didn't know if this information or real information, but we couldn't ignore it. And we had a discussion on that because it was coming very, and it also took place at a point in time when activities in the party was a very low level. Our sense has always been that Rodney was striking at points below political activity. So we were trying to make sense out of it. And as I said, my gut feelings was to say, what should we go on?
What I would like you to explain, as you said, whether it was information, genuine information or disinformation. I don't want you to put an interpretation. You are receiving information that they were going to crack down on the WPA information. Was that, is that your interpretation or that's the nature of the information?
That was the relation. We have to make sense of it. So as I told you, both sides of the relation with this information. So we have to represent the way they were sending us back to confuse us. So we have to make sense of it. My gut feelings that we should be very take precaution. Probably that's something that we can.
Yeah, I was often in that sort of environment. You don't know what is information rather than misinformation on the last.
Yeah.
But so we now know, you now know that that was not this information. But within the information, this information for as far as saying that he was killed.
Well, a part of the recollection was not that he was killed, as in they made a crackdown, imprisonment, the exact form of the crackdown.
Yes, I think the time is now come for the nation. Who wants to start? William to play back for a long while.
Mr. Chairman, I'm afraid that I will be back, but I think I have spoken the principle that when it's a witness to the lawyers or the WPA, I so that I would come last.
I would make the day too seriously or just
Perhaps my colleagues could decide on something
so you're watching the clock now, but good batsman goes to the crease ahead.
I'm keen to go, but Commissioner, I don't know if there's anyone who would just have a few that might want to go till 2 o'clock.
Mr. Grant, I think that you are perhaps the person that I should have asked to go first.
My own preference would be to start because I would like to assess all the evidence today. If it is the wish of the Commission that I do begin today, I cannot promise that I will finish. In fact, I feel so that I won't. But my preference would be to start afresh.